evening, everybody. This is Autohaus Z, and this is a 4AGZE. So this car used to belong to the owner of Garage Star in Sacramento. Shout out to Kenjo from Garage Star, a fan of the podcast, so thank you, Kenjo. So one of the most common work requests I get is to get a general inspection on the health of the car. Sometimes owners haven't run the car in a long time, or the car has been sitting for a long time. Sometimes, in this case, the owner just bought this car. And with the rarity and the vintage of these cars, it only makes sense to find someone knowledgeable to get a once-over inspection, see what the car needs or future plans or upgrades that are recommended. Alright, so fun story about this car. This engine actually belonged to me circa 10 years ago. So about 10 years ago, I bought a 1989 AW11 with a GZE, and I ended up buying that car to pull this power plant out of to put in my 76 Celica. The owner of that Celica now is the owner of Secret Factory USA in Sacramento, and that Celica, it has a turbo beams in it now. You may have seen it. It's like Ninja Turtle green, and shout out to you, Tom. And so what happened to that 4AGZE? It ended up in the Garage Star shop car. And then it's pretty fun because now 10 years later, here we are full circle. Alright, so some fun facts, some quirks, and some interesting stuff about this engine and this swap. 4AGZE in the US only came in 1987 to 1989 Toyota MR2. Someone can correct me on those dates. It's the same 4AG block except with lower compression pistons. So that's why this was a common swap back in the day, because you would just have to change it from transverse to longitudinal, and then this car is a T50 transmission, so the Corolla Trans bolts up to this guy. You can tell it used to be front wheel drive because that's where the engine mount would go to the chassis. US models only came with a distributor. In the JDM models, they actually had distributorless with coil packs, and you'd see the coil packs back there. Yeah, there's a lot of nostalgia for me in this car, so we'll try to go over as much as I can remember. This tube is actually the factory one from the AW11. To get this to fit, I just had to and get the correct orientation to get this guy to work. This air filter box is actually off of another Toyota, and then way back in the day, I actually got a bar sticker for this swap in my Celica, and not knowing how strict the state referee would be, there was actually a Toyota part number somewhere here, and you could tell I did a good job of sanding off that part number and making it look like factory. Otherwise, this is still a really clean swap from when I did this circa 10 years ago. The emission stuff is still there, like the EGR and the evap and everything. There's some other cool stuff. Hopefully you can see it. That intercooler outlet, I actually had performance options modify and weld this so that it faces the front. Back when I first had this swap running in my Celica, because this outlet faces that way on the MR2, it would be this intercooler hose making a U-turn. So there's some other fun stuff, like because I put this in my Celica, and the AW11 has a different style, I think air to water oil cooler. This oil cooler that's in there now is actually the trans oil cooler from my Celica, because I bought my Celica originally automatic trans. This alternator I bought reman from the Toyota dealer. It's horrendously expensive because it's US GZE only, and US GZE is externally regulated. If you have a keen eye, you would notice that's not a GZE or Toyota voltage regulator. This is actually from a first gen Honda Prelude, And I did this way back in the day because I had an issue with the charging system, and it ended up being the factory voltage regulator. And I think aftermarket or factory, this guy was some horrendous amount, like $300-400. But digging around on the forums, I found out that people were using a first gen prelude external voltage regulator. You just have to swap 2 of the pins around, I think, in the factory harness. Alright, so what else is cool on this thing? I can't remember what my intercooler piping looked like. So I can't remember if this was on my Celica or not. But for sure, I'm pretty confident this intercooler is. It was a eBay intercooler kit with just a bunch of universal pipes and fittings. And I can tell because I had performance options weld on these solid aluminum elbows. GZE is interesting. I think there's like I forget what it's called for forced induction, like a blow through or a pass through system, but GZE is one of them, so that the intercooler pipes have a vacuum at idle. So what would happen was when we had the 90-degree silicone couplers, they would actually suck in, and then once you were under boost, they'd blow back out. So that's why we had to go the solid aluminum elbows. Let's see what else is cool on this thing. So I'm pretty sure this is the pace setter header I modified way back in the day when this was on my Celica. And then you can see this guy's cool. It still retains the rear drive EGR. I can't remember if I had to do that. I imagine I did because I had a bar sticker, but this kind of like this EGR stuff, Corolla related items like that, you know, ridiculously hard to find back then, and then even harder now. Yeah, this thing's definitely really tough looking. I really like it. One of the bigger things, literally and figuratively, are these wheels and the Garage Star Stop Tech Big Brake Kit, which we'll take a look at just in a second. It's funny, we talked about how it kind of hurts. This Zenki bumper got cut out probably to clear the wheels, but they probably, when Ken had this car, they probably weren't worth $1 million like they are now. And then this is pretty creative. There's some holes cut for the intercooler, and then this might have had a tow hook at one point because this is slotted out, but yeah, pretty creative. And then these speed holes aren't like so intrusive aesthetically, so yeah, I like it. Alright, why don't we go up and take a look. Alright, so there's some unique GZE stuff, like the thermostat housing is external, and then because this used to be bolted to the trans, I think you actually need to run a ground wire from the external thermostat housing to body side ground, because there's a few sensors on that thing, I think. Yeah, a lot of people are curious about these Stop Tech brakes from Garage Star. So yeah, let's take a look at these guys. Big caliper adapter brackets. Stop Tech! So yeah, kind of hard to see, but Corolla engine mounts. This GZ fits right in, which is, I mean, that's probably part of the reason it was such a popular swap back in the day. T50 trans, bolts straight up, no nonsense. Yeah, tough to see, but there's the supercharger right there. It's funny because the supercharger, it's a electric magnetic clutch that engages at certain RPMs, and so it's funny because this thing, it's kind of like it works exactly like an AC compressor actually. I think the compressor would have went right here, right there. but it's been a long time, I can't remember. Yeah, I noticed these bumper brackets from Auto Collect Storm. Really interesting. That's to make a product like that. Because honestly, I don't know how much demand there is for those, but I mean, shout out to Auto Collect Storm for, you know, shout out to any company nowadays in 2020 making brand new Corolla products. Alright, so it was recommended by some of my shopmates to kind of make a vlog about this car since it shares so much history, and it's really cool that this engine has been in 3 different cars, and then here it is 10 years later, I get to drive it. So yeah, there's probably a lot of stuff I'm missing, and I'm probably doing this vlog thing wrong, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. You guys, if you have any more questions, I can talk more about my history with this GZE, and I can talk about some of my other cars on the podcast or something. But any more questions you want to ask about this car, or any questions and suggestions at all, leave something in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe. You can please listen to the Autohaus podcast, and it really would help if you left a review for the podcast also. Everybody stay safe. Thank you guys again for watching.